Alright guys, Hatchcom again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Shotzzy making a major announcement last night which potentially might take us back close enough to some of the glory days of competitive Call of Duty where practice streams were a regular occurrence. Shotzzy will be streaming OpTic Scrims every single day with the exception of today for interesting reasons, and also potentially leading up to majors as well in a major move for the state of content in the Call of Duty League. It's pretty likely therefore other pros and teams may well follow suit in the near future as well to take things to the next level finally here in the COD League. But also, how did OpTic get on in their practice last night particularly well, especially against one team that may be a big favourite going into the minor in a couple of days? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, the skins, the team packs, whatever, they're officially in the game. I think this is the same price as last year, $11.99. So they've not moved it on massively, if at all. Obviously, back in the day, they were far cheaper than this. And for this type of money, you'd get every single skin pretty much in the entire game. But yeah, that's where we are looking pretty much as of today. And here are all the skins and everything. Look, to be fair, it's not just the skin. You get the operator skin and the camo and all the other things that come along with it as well. Slasher, of course, was promoting their team skin. I think it's still a bit of a question, really, as to whether, I'm assuming this is the case now, but I don't think it used to be, the money that is generated from this is split between the teams equally or distributed to the teams in order of what they actually sell. So obviously, like, half the money probably goes straight to Activision's pocket. The other money probably, I don't know, I'm imagining, goes to the teams. Now, you're seeing the teams promote the bundles, so I imagine there is benefit for them individually for them doing so. It was a big talking point when Hex was like, hang on a second, why are we splitting the money generated from these packs 12 ways when we're selling as OpTic, you know, in this hypothetical, the most packs? Now, I think, I'm guessing anyway, they've probably solved that now, so I'm hoping it makes sense. If I buy the Ravens pack, that, you know, let's say $6 of the 12 ends up going to the Ravens, and therefore maybe filters down to the players in some capacity. I don't know, but look, it's a big revenue generator, stuff like this in other esports. It is in COD as well, if they do it right. They could do a better job with it. I don't think anyone denies that, but it's better that it exists than it doesn't. And, you know, it's only January. The game's only been out for a couple of months. It's probably okay, the timing on this, right? Given the fact that in previous years we've had ranked and other things arrive in like February, March. You know, it's not been the worst launch in terms of timings. It's just the state of the game, as we know, is a bit of a shambles. And XQC was talking about that. Now, I can't really say much on this video just because he's clearly massively misinformed, so there isn't really much criticism to give, but I thought it was funny anyway, so I wanted to share this clip for you guys, because XQC was talking about the state of Call of Duty, the fact that COD's in it, a bit of a mess, and he's not wrong. I just feel like this is a pretty common opinion among maybe more casual players who play Call of Duty from time to time or don't really, you know, follow the way that things are going and developing as we do here in the scene, that believe, and I think this is true about people also thinking this about other games, that the pros are somehow ruining the game because the pros want to play in a certain way. And to be fair, one of the points he makes on the weapons that are used, he's not really wrong, that the pros would prefer to use one gun, like GA, everything else, there's only one gun that's the best. And to be honest, I think that is the fault, and I've said this for years, of Gunsmith, allowing you to just have every attachment under the sun you want on your weapon. So whatever is statistically the best gun, everyone uses it, and they use it with their own personal touch because they use their own set of attachments, but it's still the best gun. Whereas back in the day, if I wanted an AR to behave differently to the M8 or to, you know, the Man of War, I'm just going to use Black Ops 3 because obviously that's always the example that I'll go for, then I've got to use a different AR. Whereas nowadays, I can make my AR faster, slower, by just changing the infinite amount of attachments that I have. So I actually don't think it's entirely the COD pros' fault. You know, are the pros behaving differently today than they did several years ago in BO3 when there was so much weapon variety, and even in Infinite Warfare, and even Black Ops 4 in relatively recent times? Sure, there were not massively different weapons available, but the SORG, the Maddox, the ICR were all used. So I don't think it's entirely the pros' fault, but yeah, just the idea that the pros are ruining the game because the developers are listening to the pros. Like, I'll share the clip at the end of the video for you guys, but I thought it was funny that Slasher replied and said, they listen to the pros? Like, you know, what are you talking about? They are not making making these games based on what the pros have to say, because if they did, it would be, the games would be far better, I think, fundamentally. The pros aren't perfect, but if these games were designs with competitive in mind in many regards, I actually think they'd just play better fundamentally. If you ask, casual COD players what are their favourite ever maps from Call of Duty, excluding Nuketown, they're probably going to tell you the maps that actually played the best for competitive as well. But we do have some positivity to talk about. So Shotzzy was on stream saying, COD is dead, nothing's going on, there's no content happening, the Call of Duty League isn't even back yet, what's going on? And, it's time to turn the streams on for practice. We talk about this every single year at some point, about streaming practice. Teams usually do it the first couple of weeks of the game, then they stop because they feel like they're giving things away. Now, I get that on the run-up to the World Championship, and I get that for Search and Destroy. You're not gonna, stream your Search and Destroy practice. The reality is there really anything that as a team you're giving away, especially when you're scrimming other teams anyway? They have a coach in the lobby, they are VOD recording, so, they get the information regardless. Now, of course, if I'm a coach of a certain team, I don't get the information on what OpTic are doing every single scrim, I just get the ones where they play my team, but still, is there really anything apart from break-off strategies that is being given away in these streamed practices? And was there much correlation back in the day when OpTic and other teams were streaming their scrims all of the time, even with their comms? No comms nowadays for OpTic, and that's perfectly fine. I think it's honestly just brilliant that we have this content. It is the best content in competitive Call of Duty, watching team scrims. It's always been the case. 8s, I used to love watching 8s as well, still a bit of fun. But team scrims always clear in terms of content, in my opinion, because, it's replicating CDL matches, and it's the practice the pros put in behind the scenes. We always say, though, well, the pros don't want to do it because, they want to make sure that they can place top 6 at the major rather than top 8, and that's all loads of more prize money. The reality is, you turn the stream on as a pro player, just stream and practice. No comms, just audio on the game. You don't even have to look at the chat. You can literally just put it to one side. You will help the community because people want to watch it, and you'll rake in loads of money, ad revenue, sub revenue, and all this type of stuff. So, look, Shotzzy is doing this for the benefit of the community. It's also going to benefit himself, and that's perfectly fine. Brilliant, right? Like, he should be rewarded for doing stuff like this. And I am hoping that some of the other pros and teams come to a similar realization as well, that they can also benefit. I know that aBeZy has talked for a couple of years about, maybe FaZe will stream their scrims this year, and I'm not saying it's aBeZy's fault, because maybe there's someone on the team, or maybe Crowd or the coach or whatever, says, I don't think we should be doing it, and therefore they don't. But we talked about it this year. Going into this season, there are many teams taking a pay cut. Probably the majority of teams have suffered somewhat. So we thought, okay, maybe teams will start streaming their practice a bit. And look, say what you want about OpTic, but it takes OpTic to come along and say, look, we're going to be the ones to do it. Shotzzy's going to turn the streams on, and also, of course, the rest of his team has agreed to say, you know what, yeah, I'm happy to do this. So as he says, going to stream scrims every day this year, banging. Just how it used to be back in like BO3 and stuff. Maybe not close to major tournaments, think it's good for the scene, the team doesn't mind it. Of course, they have any problem with it, then we're not going to do it. But, no comms, of course, just audio, and not streaming tomorrow for interesting reasons. But, we have some streams practice to have a look at, and it's just great content for the scene. So OpTic played Miami and Toronto last night. They were their 2 set to scrims. Again, it's interesting because OpTic, pretty much based on who they've been playing, they're playing all the pro teams. The fact that FaZe are scrimming against, challenger teams is no big deal, but it's just, I think it shows that FaZe are trying to get every rep in that they can. Whereas OpTic, they're confident with their play, they're going to play their 2 set today, and that's going to be it. And fair enough. Map 1, Vault, they slammed them. 250, 86, Huke was double positive, Wrinkle was double negative. I'm just going to go through these screenshots relatively quickly for you guys to see how they got on. OpTic played Miami, it was 4-3 in the end, so it was competitive. Miami looking good. And I'm not massively surprised, right? Like Miami, even in the Pro League, they are a team that will be very inconsistent. I mean, this is like classic Miami. They get slammed on the Vault. Next map, they come out and win 250-236. Next map, they lose on the Hacienda. The Hacienda, by the way, okay, this time Dashy didn't have crazy individual performance, but he was still 35 in 23 when he considered the assists, and he had the most damage in the lobby. But it was Shotzzy with a big map here. But still, OpTic Hacienda, they are scary, there's no doubt. And Dashy out of the hill time. So, yeah, I don't know if they're going to be playing much Hacienda. Some teams will let them have it through the veto process, I guess. But, yeah, they're looking very good at it on scrims. And I guess this is the one point about streaming the practice is that teams get to know, Because if I'm the coach of, let's say, you know, Miami, for example, and all I get to see is when we play them, then I get to have a feeling as to how OpTic are getting on. And obviously I've got their league matches to go off as well. But if I can see every scrim and everything is publicized, then I can see, okay, over all the teams that OpTic are scrimming, they're good here, they're bad there, we match up well against them here and there, and whatever. And maybe it gives, look, if you stream your practice, you're probably going to give a very marginal disadvantage to yourself on some level. But do the pros outweigh the cons? I don't really think so, and I'm very much hoping that OpTic do well at the minor and now at the major, because if OpTic like go and win the major or something, then I think it will prove to everyone, and especially even themselves, that the streaming of the practice doesn't matter in terms of results. What you don't want, I think, as a community is OpTic to go into the major, bomb out top 12, and then they think, we've probably got to turn the streams off. I'm hoping that other teams follow suit as well. But they still lost the red card. Their red card is not good, although they did win it against Toronto, so we'll get to that in a second. So, yeah, maybe the red card's not the end of the world, but they're not good at it, for sure, on average. They won the Protocol 251-44, so in terms of the hard points, it was 3-2 in favour of OpTic. Kenny and Dashy, or Kenny actually especially, with a big map here. Some stinkers, I'm not gonna lie, it's a funny series because there were some players having some stinker maps here. Then they played the Vault Control, that was 3-1 to Miami. They played the Protocol Control, that was 3-1 to OpTic. I think they played the Hacienda Control and it was 2-2 and then somebody lagged out. So I'm not sure how that would have ended. Could have been a 4-3, could have been a 5-3, could have been a 4-4. And then they played Toronto Ultra. Now this was particularly interesting, right? Because Miami, we know they're going to be very inconsistent, but also they play FaZe first round of the minor in just a couple of days. Ultra are 4-0. This team has been looking very good in their matches so far, and, you know, Ultra are expected to be in the mix, I would say, to fight for the victory at the minor this upcoming weekends. But OpTic handled business pretty effectively here. This time, though, they actually lost the vault. Of course, CleanX had, as maybe was no real surprise, a mega map here, 43-32. OpTic, though, then won the Skyline, 250-208. Beans had 42, but it wasn't enough in the end. Then they played the red card, and they won this one, 250-99. Dashy had a monster takeover map, 41-20, with 2 minutes 12 in the hill. So, yeah, just an interesting one, because over the last few days, OpTic have lost, like, every red card, and usually quite comfortably. So it seemed like it was going to be their perma veto. But then they just slammed Toronto on it, 100-point club them. So, yeah, maybe they'll have questions on what they do there. Insight with a bad map here for sure. Dashy had his number, that map, there's no doubt. Protocol, 250-180 in the end. Surprisingly bad map here from CleanX. Huke had a good one, and so did the rest of the OpTic guys. And then they won the Hacienda as well. Not a dominant Hacienda win, but still 250-212. Kenny doesn't have a great map either, but the rest of the boys get the job done. Insight again with a bit of a stinker. So, you know, you can see some storylines emerging from this series, and certainly OpTic's Hacienda is a force to be reckoned with. Then Toronto won the Vault. That was their only other map of the series that they won in the Control, and interesting that Shotzzy had a bad one here compared to the rest of the team. And then it was OpTic that won the Hacienda Control, 3-1, and then they won the Protocol Control as well, 3-2. The scoreboard was glitched on this one, and that led to an overall series result of 6 to OpTic, 2 to Toronto. So, yeah, good series. Just great to watch this type of stuff, isn't it, right? Even if it's not got the comms, you can't hear any of that stuff, you can just see the results and the audio. This is great stuff for the Call of Duty League, for the Call of Duty scene, and, you know, again, say what you want about Shotzzy and OpTic, but they are the organisation that does this type of stuff to help out the community in this way, especially when the community feels like it needs it an awful lot. Just quickly, today, Shotzzy and the OpTic guys were meant to be scrimming, I think, against Thieves and FaZe. Those are apparently going to be their scrims today. And everyone was, you know, chomping at the bit or foaming at the mouth, whatever you want to say, to see those scrims, to see how they got on against Thieves and certainly against FaZe. And, but as Shotzzy says, scrims are chalk tomorrow. Ken had something come up. So, very unfortunate for the scene. I don't know what Kenny had come up. Of course, people can speculate. I know people were speculating that it could be something to do with his, like, vertigo that he had a couple of years ago. Could be literally anything. But, yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to get that absolute banger couple of scrim sets, but I'm sure we will get them in due course based on what we're hearing here. And, look, if I'm any of these other teams, I'm thinking, look, OpTic are doing it. They're, you know, world champions. They're maybe going to be one of the best teams again for this season. MVP candidates. Why aren't I turning on the stream? Raking in a free few few extra grand every month off the Twitch revenue and, you know, helping the scene as a consequence. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
Crying about the game.
It's crazy that Call of Duty is still pretty played in general, right? And they listen so much to pro players. Bro, pro players need to fucking shut up. Bro, pro players need to fucking log off the game, throw the computer in the garbage, okay? No, I'm not kidding. If you're a pro at Call of Duty, throw your computer in the garbage bin nearby, okay? And go get a job at Home Depot or McDonald's, you fucking loser, okay? You're a fucking loser. You make anything but the game about the fucking bullshit controller when the game could be more, okay? You can only use one gun out of 60 and 4 attachments, even though there's 6 slots on one map, but don't go to the left side because I don't like that part of the map. I don't like the colors of it. Don't go in.